It is June 1942, the height of the war raging across the deserts of North Africa. Air power is all important in this struggle between British Empire forces and Rommel's Afrika Korps. Flight Sergeant Dennis Copping, 24 from Southend-on-Sea, and Essex flies, Curtiss P-40 Kittyhawk fighter bombers for the RAF. Stu 60 Squadron based in northern Egypt. Copping takes off on the 28th of June 1942 in P-40 ET 574 on a ferry flight. His task is to deliver the aircraft to another Egyptian base for undercarriage repair and possibly to repair flat damage to the fuselage. Copping would have to fly the aircraft with the undercarriage fully extended due to earlier damage that was going to be repaired. Copying an experienced and competent pilot powers his aircraft down the runway and takes off into the clear North African air, but something goes disastrously wrong, and he and his aircraft are never seen again. Then one day in March 2012, a Polish oil worker exploring in the Sahara Desert discovers a remarkably well-preserved P-40. It is sat in the desert 400 miles from the nearest civilization. It is at 574 missing for an astounding 70 years. There was no sign of Flight Sergeant Copping, but all the evidence pointed to him having survived the crash. The aircraft's nose was pointing into the prevailing winds and have been sandblasted clean of paint over 70 years. The propeller and nose cone had been torn off the aircraft when he had made a wheels-down landing, the undercarriage collapsing. There was also evidence of shrapnel damage from flak. This damage has never been fully explained over 7 decades. In the desert, the wind had destroyed the fabric covering the tail sections, but the RAF roundels on the sides of the fuselage were still visible. The aircraft's guns were still fully loaded. Efforts were made to try to find out the fate of Flight Sergeant Copping. Parts of her parachute were found close to the wreck, indicating that he had set up a camp whilst awaiting rescue. But no rescue ever came later. Searchers revealed human bones, an RAF brass button, and another piece of parachute 3 miles from the wreck, perhaps indicating that Copping had eventually tried to walk out of the desert and perished in the attempt today. At 574 sites outside the War Museum in El Alamein, Egypt, after a deal to bring her to Britain fell through. She's been rather badly restored and sports an incorrect color scheme. But she has been saved from scrapping S for Flight Sergeant Copping. Identifying his remains have proved difficult. He is still in the desert somewhere near the crash site.